All right. Hey guys, welcome back to the Better Project, where our main purpose is to crush the stigma that surrounds mental health by talking to real people and crushing. Oh, fucking hell, I stuffed that up, didn't
Go for it. All good, bro.
I?
Is this the beauty of our recordings? Just go.
Oh, fucking hell. Oh, God. All right, second go. Hey guys, welcome back to the Better Project. I'm your host, Nick Batar. I'm having a bad day, bro. Holy
Right, just
shit.
let's just
Let's
do
just
some
jump
breath.
in. I'm going to fucking pre-record that. All right.
Are ya?
Yeah, I'll just pre-record it. Fuck it. Hey guys, welcome back to the Better Project. I'm your host, Nick Patar. Potsy, welcome, brother.
How you doing, mate?
Good, man. Fuck, that intro was fucked, bro. For all the listeners, I've just tried to do an intro like three times and I fucked it.
I want to jump in there quickly because people who don't do this kind of stuff don't understand the pressure that it like the amount of failure that goes into recording a video, especially when you get started, man. I think like 4 or 5 years back when my mentor got me to start filming videos to post on like Facebook and Instagram about my training. Whoa, bro, I would spend hours. I would literally spend hours doing takes, and I think it's a level of appreciation that you can only understand when you do this kind of stuff. And then I just see you make a few mistakes, and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Mm,
But we put so much pressure on ourselves.
I know. I think because it's a new intro as well, I haven't fucking done it many times before, so I'm stuffing it up. It's all good. It's all part and parcel of it, eh?
Yeah, it's all just roll with the punches, bro. It's good. It's all lessons.
Dude, I like to start my podcast with gratefuls. What's something you're grateful for today?
Oh, what aren't I grateful for? If I had to narrow it down, definitely my son and my partner, and just the amount of love that it's showing me, and I'm receiving and giving and being a part of at the moment. It's just a whole new world. Yeah.
That's awesome, bro. Yeah, you mentioned your son was 8 weeks old. What's it like being a dad?
Uh, uh I'm not gonna do my best to explain it in words because it actually can't be explained with words. And the way I've telling everyone is like, you do all this preparation for, obviously, you understand this in the future is you try and do this preparation to have kids, right? And when you don't have kids and you're like, all right, I'm going to have a kid. I'm going to do this preparation. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm going to do this, do that, do that. And it's like, yeah, you can feel as prepared as you want, but it's the actual experience that just blows your mind, opens your heart, brings you into the present moment, like gets rid of every single one of your worries. Like when you're holding that child in your arms, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. It is so incredible. And it is the most eye-opening experience that, talk about personal development, do this, right. It's like, become better, whatever. It's like when you hold a baby in your arms, there's nothing you want to do apart from be the best person for that baby and look after it. And it has just been such a journey of love, connection, pure joy, absolute joy.
So it's true when people say your life changes when you have a child.
Oh, on so many levels. There's the level of your now life is about more than you. Even having a partner and having an incredible partner that you connect with, there's like some level of responsibility. But at any point, you could just leave that relationship, and you still can when you have a child. But when you have a child, it's literally it's like a magnet, man. It's like there's a part of you that's just stuck to you now, and it's not in a bad way. It's like this thing is my heart outside of my chest, like, and there's a part that you're super responsible for another human being. And then there's the evolution of like your spirit and your energy and the love within you, that there's this realization that you are now a part of the creation of life. Previously you were a part of life, but now you've actually created life, and it's unexplainable. It's just wild.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. I'm super keen. Like people say, you don't know true love until you hold your own flesh and blood.
Mm. Yeah, it is. It is special. It's very special.
Dude, who was Jordan Potts? Let's go back. Like, what was your upbringing like? Give us a little backstory on who you are and what you kind of do.
Oh, alrighty, let's go. So I started off as a young kid, like everyone else. starting off as a kid, super energetic, passionate, having fun, joy, sports, all these different activities with my family. We had the best loving family. I can remember my childhood was just like incredible. It was just the most awesome time of my life from what I remember. And it was just so, so epic. And, I thought of myself as basically like a superhero. Like I would run around either with a cape tied around like a towel tied around my neck, or I'd have it metaphorically run like in the wind, running around climbing trees and stuff. So I was a pretty good, like happy-go-lucky kid, full of energy, and yeah, just loved everything. Just threw myself into everything. I was super confident. I didn't really think about failure or anything. It was just like go hard. And at 10 years old, I specifically remember the moment my dad came into my room after him and my mum had a fight, and he basically said, like, I'm moving out. Your mum and I are breaking up, and like basically that we're going through a divorce. And man, the feeling of that as a young 10-year-old boy who had this experience and this image of what his family was and how important it was to him was just, oh man, it was traumatic. I didn't know what was happening at the time, but I now reflect on just how sad I felt and how heavy I felt and how resentful I felt to the world. Like I basically was like, you stole my perfect family environment from me. And it was pretty tough. And so dad moved out. Mum got really sick with MS, which was really unfortunate. So she got to a point where she couldn't look after us kids properly. Like she had lost her dexterity, couldn't walk, was really clumsy. And she just she couldn't be too responsible because she was quite sick, and we had to look after her and look after ourselves. And then we would go to dad's at certain points of the month as well. And so, yeah, it was just a wild ride after that. It was a really wild ride. It went from everything was awesome to everything seeming pretty dark. And I lost a bit of confidence with that in terms of self-belief, because I don't know if you've been through it, but a lot of kids who go through family breakups, they usually blame themselves. They find every reason as to why it was them. And I found I was just always like, oh, I did this, I should have done that, I could have done this, I should have made them happier, I should have, like, all this thing. And I was just blaming myself. And then got to a point where, I was very angry at life. And at the time I was playing rugby league. So I was playing rugby league with the goal of basically releasing all of my anger and trying to hurt people. And that led me down a path of being really out of control on the field, and then getting injuries. Then as I got more injured, I started to lack confidence in my own abilities. And so I became quite a fragile young kid. And when you're fragile in your teens, not only do you become fragile in yourself, but you become fragile in your environment. So I became kind of like the laughing stock of my mates. I still had mates, but I was the one that they would all pick on, and it would be funny. And so I'd laugh a part of it and be like, yeah, whatever, it's a sick joke. But on the inside, I was like fully crumbling. And, I'd spend most of my nights at home, or most of my time on my own with my own thoughts, thinking like, fuck, I'm not actually that quality of a human. Like, no one likes me. Everyone just likes me for a joke and all that kind of stuff. And so that drove me into some really dark periods in my like 16, 17. And I'd put on a lot of weight due to an ACL reconstruction, and then got cleared and kind of dropped the weight and went, right, I'm going to stop playing footy. I'm going to start partying, because I met some mates who were like older and started drinking. And then I found myself like wanting to be aesthetic and attractive to women in clubs. So I started like getting through the shred and like, watching Ziz videos and all that kind of stuff. And, bulking for stereo. That was like that whole kind of scene that I was in, because I needed an expressive outlet outside of sport. And I'd been so injured playing footy that I kind of gave up sport and went hard at the gym. And so I was going hard in the gym. That led to, benders at festivals, lots of drugs, drinking my way through every weekend, trying to destroy myself. And I basically went on a 7-year bender, 6-year bender, 6.5-year bender, and woke up in a coma when I was 23. And I could hear the beep of like a hospital, like just like I was so out of it. I remember hearing like this beep, and then I had like tubes down my throat. I'm thinking, what is going on? And my eyes open up. I'm like, this isn't right. Like something's going on here. And yeah, my dad comes over to me and he's like, "Are you all right? Like I'm here for you, mate. Are you all good?" And I'm just thinking, what has happened? Anyway, they told me like you fell 10 meters out of a tree. You were super drugged up at a splinter in the grass in 2015. And as soon as I woke up out of that coma, I had this big realization that I wasn't that 10-year-old kid that was frothing on life anymore. And there'd been like this 13-year gap where I was loving life and now I was nearly dead. And I had a good chance to reflect on like what was I doing that got first of all, what was I doing that nearly killed me? And why did I end up in this position where I'm hating myself, suicidal, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, having all these emotional experiences that are causing me grief? And I realized that I'd got really distracted into what's true to me, living with energy, like pure energy, natural energy, being passionate, loving my life, doing hobbies that I love. All of this stuff had basically slowly crept out of my life. And my life was then party, live for the weekend, earn money, blow it on drugs, chase women, get a root, all this stuff. And it was so far from what's true to me that I'd got myself in a really sticky position. But you speak about gratitude at the start. I'm so grateful for this experience because it's literally the minute I woke up from that coma, I knew that I would never, ever go back to feeling like that. I was never going to live that life again, ever. It was the complete death of that identity. And the minute I woke up, I said, right, my goal now is to rebuild the person that I want to be. And so that's been my journey over the last 4 or 5 years, is just figuring out what my values are, cultivating them, and then building a lifestyle and a reality around me that I actually really enjoy, that I love. So yeah, it's been a bit of a journey.
Sounds like it, bro. First off, who is your favorite superhero?
Oh man, I'd have to go Thor.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thor or Master Splinter.
Yeah,
Master
nice.
Splinter's not, Master Splinter's um, not really a superhero, but I remember watching movies as a kid and then, really being drawn to Master Splinter. And if I had to choose an actual superhero, it'd be Thor. But my OG, my archetype, like my spirit archetype, is Yoda.
I love that.
So Yoda's always in the back of my head, and I've got this thing that happens in my subconscious, like what would Yoda do? And I always think, Master Yoda, what would he say? So wise, so calm, but knows when to unleash, knows when to use the Force, but just chilling. Yoda's just doing his thing.
Exactly, bro. And from what you've kind of just told me, I guess, did it all stem from your parents breaking up?
Oh,
I know it's hard to pinpoint, but from me listening, it kind of sounds like it stemmed from then.
yeah, that was definitely a catalyst event. That was an event that was the first event in my life that provided some level of challenge, and I'll call it trauma because as a kid it's absolutely traumatic, and until I healed that event, it was a repeating trauma in my life. So yes, I think up until then I'd only experienced, just the stuff of normal little kids just getting hurt and whatever, fighting and carrying on with your sisters and brothers, all that kind of stuff. But the catalyst event, definitely the tipping event, was my parents breaking up. It was really hard and I didn't know how to process it or regulate my emotions. And so it ate up at me, and then I would let it bottle up and I manifested so much negativity into my life with the way I was looking at it and my perspective on life, what life had done to me as well.
Yeah. And why do you think divorce is so common? Because it does have that ripple effect, especially when children are involved.
Why do I think divorce is so common? Oh man, I mean that this is a deep rabbit hole. I think we're cracking open a big can. But I think when we look at love, so I'll bring it back to love because love's the most powerful thing in all of our lives. It's what recreates, what keeps us connected. It's what we all crave. It's a massive human need, and it is a huge driving energy in life itself. But if we look at love, I would say the majority of human beings walking this planet, majority of the how many billion people are on the planet right now, lack love for themselves. So we're so good at giving love to others and saying, I love you, or I love what you do, I love this, I love being around people. But as soon as it comes to our own quiet time and being in our own thoughts and our own body and our own experience, we can find a million things that we don't like about ourselves. And then if we reverse it and ask, okay, well, what do you love about yourself? People really struggle with that. And if you're taking that relationship with yourself into another relationship with another person, you are reliant on them or dependent on them to fill up your cup. And I think from my perspective, from the way my lens that I'm looking at life, I see a lot of marriages break, even relationships, even young people, relationships break up because both individuals aren't full of their own love. And so what they're doing is actually relying on the other to make them feel good. And at the start, there's this whole fling and there's like the honeymoon period, there's lust, there's new love, whatever, it's cool, it feels. But as you get more comfortable with each other, if your partner doesn't fill up your cup and they're getting comfortable in the relationship and it ticks you off, then you start to build resent. Once there's resent, it starts to build, all this negative tension. And then eventually it's going to get to a point where you're like, well, I don't even love you anymore because I don't feel the way I did at the start. So if we were to reverse that, if we can lead into relationships with a full cup for ourselves and that we're happy on our own, we're truly happy on our own, our own company, we love our thoughts, we love our body, we love our human experience, you're only going to overflow into your partner. Your partner, the people, not even your partner, the people around you are going to feel it and they're going to be drawn to it because you're full of love. And so if I was to reflect on that question, I think it comes back to the relationship with yourself.
Yeah, that's spot on there. And the saying is, if you can't love yourself, how you expected to love someone else?
Hmm. People, I 100% agree with that, and that's a one I use a lot. But people who don't understand love don't actually understand that concept. They're kind of like, well, I can love you, and I don't have to love myself.
Mm.
Now I can tell you I love you, and I don't have to tell them. They kind of they don't really. I've found in my experience they don't really resonate with that. And so one thing that I was told once was like, I can't give what I don't have. I can't teach you something if I don't know it. I can't give you $1 and help you out if I don't have $1 myself. And so when we take that as about relationship, to truly love someone else, accept yourself first, see your flaws, love yourself, forgive yourself, and then we can accept, forgive, love others in a space that's non-conditional. I'll love you if you do this for me, or I'll love you if you love me.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's fill up our own cup first, and then we can just love and accept everyone and everything. I think that makes a big ripple effect in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a journey within, themselves. And I guess we're not relationship gurus here, but say someone is in a relationship and they don't truly love themselves, what advice would you give them to love themselves, but then still love that other person and have a happy, healthy relationship?
There's so much in these questions, and it's so specific to each individual, right? Like we're all going through our own journey and our own experience of life. And so it's really hard to say what each person needs in a broad perspective. But I think it comes back to loving and accepting yourself, because when you forgive yourself for the mistakes you've made, when you actually accept your flaws and understand that that's what makes you human, and you actually start to love yourself, the relationship with the other person will come naturally. You don't actually necessarily have to work on the relationship with other people. You more so need to understand and accept yourself, because in doing so, you start to understand and accept others and forgive others. And I think the biggest tip with people around this is starting to unpack your subconscious beliefs about yourself, which have ultimately been passed on through other people or your environment. So none of us were born with self-doubt. None of us were born with, a lack of self-worth. None of us were born with the hatred towards ourselves, or this view of we aren't beautiful, or we aren't strong, or we aren't capable. None of it. No one born with that. What we're born as is potential and human potential. And through our lives, we hear people might put us down or put us in a cardboard box or say that we can't do that or can't do this, or we're not built for this. That's not you. You're not built for this kind of thing. Or you're ugly. Someone might just randomly say in the playground as a kid, you're ugly, you're fat, you know. And if you don't have enough, I guess, as kids between 0 to 7, you don't really have those filters in place, those logical filters. So you can't really see that relationship. So you kind of take on everything from your environment. Your parents one day might say, oh, you're so stupid, why'd you do that? And you think, oh, that means I'm a stupid person. And so we have all these subconscious beliefs that have been like embedded into the deep parts of our brain. And so when we get to a point where we can start unpacking it, we get these levels of awareness. That's where we have a responsibility. It's not our fault. It's not our fault that everyone said that, or that so-and-so bullied you, or that you made a mistake and you were embarrassed and now you feel this like, oh, I don't want that to happen. It's not your fault, but it's your responsibility to fully unpack your subconscious mind and start to rebuild how you would like to, hold yourself in this life. And I think that's a big part in the journey is you have to make that decision that, right, it's my responsibility to understand myself, understand my unconscious mind, understand the way I look at the world, or what triggers me when other people say it to me. And then when you go on that journey, you're ultimately going to start uncovering a lot of the things that you've gone through, experienced. And as you heal and grow and learn and build confidence in yourself, everything else just starts to happen naturally. That manifestation of positivity, of healing, of growth, of energy starts to just unfold. So that would be my biggest tip is like if you're truly unsatisfied, if you truly feel you're at a point where you're not satisfied with where you're at and you're not happy with the results, then make the decision to commit to learning more about yourself and reach out. In your hometown, you'll easily be able to find someone that can help you go on the journey.
Yeah, it is a powerful journey. This year I've actually been, doing inner work on myself because growing up I always had those limiting beliefs and self-doubt and just thought that I wasn't good enough from my environment telling me so. And when someone says that very often, you start to believe it, especially from a young age, and you just get conditioned to think that's who you are and kind of becomes your identity. So I had to dig deep into that and realize, that is not me. That's just what that other person has said. I need to move past that now and accept who I am and then actually be self-aware to know who I am actually.
Yeah. So when you say you had like limiting beliefs, like, do you know which ones you had to work through?
Yeah, so it was like with my father growing up, he would always say like, "Oh, you're dumb, like you're not good enough, you're not gonna be like successful or anything," because I wasn't like him. I'm more like my mum. So like he said that to try and hurt me. But growing up, I believed it until recently when I did like timeline therapy and like really dig deep into where it stemmed from and then moved past it.
Yeah, interesting. And it's so powerful to step into a space where you're looking to do that work on yourself, because that awareness provides you that realization of like, oh, this is the effect of a cause. Like, let's get back to the cause. What actually caused all of this stuff that's having an effect on my life? And then when you start to understand it, you unpack it. And it's a massive release, hey?
Oh, for sure, bro. And it's like when I was doing it, like all this stuff would pop up, like it's all in your subconscious and you don't know it's there until you actually dig deep for it. And all this shit pops up. And you're like, holy crap, I didn't realize that was still in my head.
Mm. Yeah, it's so awesome to hear that you're doing that. And you said timeline therapy.
Yeah.
Have you enjoyed doing that?
Yeah. So I did that a few times at like an event that I went to. And yeah, that really opened my eyes to becoming more self aware and realizing what happened when I was younger kind of made me act certain ways throughout my life. And then understanding that and being able to realize what triggers me and all that kind of stuff, just basically being more self aware.
Yeah. Yeah, self-awareness is the key to self-mastery, eh?
That's it, bro. But yeah, man, coming back to you. So you said you fell out of a tree at a festival. Why were you climbing a tree drugged up and okay.
Bro. The explanation is in the fact that I was taking every single drug I could get my hands on at Splendor, running around. Just, I was at a point in my life where I really didn't care if I died. So when I said before that I was suicidal, I was premeditating how I could knock myself off, whether it was when I was driving in a car, whether I could drive into a tree. You know, I would constantly, I'd have these thoughts. And this is, I say this a lot to people who I speak with who are having suicidal thoughts. They are just thoughts. At the end of the day, they are thoughts. And if you can recognize that they're thoughts, then you can start to unpack them and realize, think, why are these thoughts common in my days? And you know, for me, I was not living true to what I valued. I was very dependent on other people for my happiness. We go back to that love. I was lacking love for myself, so I depended on other people. And so if I'd go a week or 2 weeks without receiving love, I'd get really depressed. I'd get really down, and then I'd start the multiplying effect of like why I wasn't worthy. And I was, not to mention that every weekend I was like banged up on the drugs so deep, you know, like to the fact that Monday I'd want to check myself in a hospital because I was having this crazy come down, sweats, nightmares, like convulsing in bed, kind of like crazy come downs. But then it'd just be a vicious cycle where I'd get to Thursday or Friday and it'd be like, right, let's get back on the gear. And so that whole concept really drove me to a point where I was like, what, when I go out and have fun, I actually don't care if I die anymore. I don't. Like, if I don't wake up because I've been partying so hard, I went out on a good note, if you know what I mean. Well, you might not you might
Nah,
not
I
know
was
what
never like that, bro.
basically I'm going out having a good time.
Yeah.
So I would be like, right, if I'm gonna die, if I'm gonna die and I don't care, I'm gonna make it a bloody good time. So I would just get so messed up on anything I could get my hands on. So my nickname I'm Jordan Potts, and my nickname is commonly Potsy, and they used to call me Cerebral Potsy, as if like cerebral palsy, because I'd be so like incapable of moving myself, looking after myself. Like, it was it's a horrible joke because it's taking the piss out of people who have an issue, like a challenge, a physical challenge. And that was my name. Like, that was what the culture was around who I was on the weekend, which is horrible because I just go, it's the weekend, sweet, I'm just gonna get so drugged up to the point where I don't care. At this specific Splendor, I just got so off my head. I climbed this 10-meter tree in the rain. I was jumping from branch to branch like an absolute goon. And at the top, a branch snapped and I just pinballed my way down through the tree and fortunately landed on my legs. Like, if I had landed on my back wrong or landed on my head, good night. Like, that's the story over. So I landed on my legs. I blew my hip and my back out. Went into epileptic fit. Got taken to hospital. Rushed. You know, I was in a coma for 3 days, and then yeah, it's pretty full on.
Fuck. And with a nickname like that, obviously you were fucking pretty bad.
Yeah, I was the one. You know, when you see the one guy or the one girl in a group of friends who's just everyone's got to look after, and
Yeah.
that was me every time. It was my mates to be like, right, who's looking after him tonight? You know, he's gone and done it again, kind of thing. So yeah, it was a really strange and interesting period of my life. Really confused.
Yeah. And you mentioned trying to crash your car into a tree. Is that what you tried to do one time or?
Yeah, so there was a time when I was 17. I was coming home from my mate's place. We'd been hitting the bongs, like we'd been going pretty hard, smoking weed. And I remember driving home, and like I got like a few comments were taking the piss out of me. Like, I was never any good at smoking weed. I like cough on the bong and fucking green it and spew and get anxious and stuff. I don't know why I ever did it. And I'd just do it because everyone else was doing it. And then, yeah, I was driving home. I just was in a really bad frame of mind. It's coming around this bend, and I knew there was like a power pole at the end next to these big trees. And I thought, all right, I'm going to come around this corner and I'm going to head straight into it. And I was coming around the corner, and I could have at any point turned off, but I had my especially my mum, but I had my family in my mind. And for some reason, I was like sweating, and my hands were just staying on the turn. And I got around the corner, and my heart rate was like pumping. And I pulled over on the side of the road and just started bawling my eyes out. And I'm like, man, like these thoughts, they're so powerful. They're driving me to the edge. Like I was literally felt like I was like fighting, not going off the road into the trees and the pole. And so I was just thinking, this is no good, and I struggled with that for many years. And I used drugs and alcohol to kind of quieten those thoughts and quieten those feelings and emotions and numb myself out. And fortunately, I got to the point where I fell out of the tree, and that was that moment I woke up out of the coma, and that kind of just lit a spark in me. I nearly died, and the near-death experience was enough for me to wake up and go, holy shit, I actually don't want to live like this anymore. I'm gonna make a positive change in my life. I'm gonna be a positive role model in my community. I'm gonna start living a life that I'm actually driven to live.
And once you got out of hospital and you also did whatever the rehab that you needed to do, what were your next kind of moves?
So I knew that this is one thing that I think is really crucial for people, is like data and information or new knowledge is always going to provide a platform for growth. If you operate on the same level, if you operate with the same information, beliefs, thoughts, capacity, ability, all that stuff, you're really only going to get the same level. So to elevate yourself or to start achieving more or feeling better, you need to grasp and learn some new content, learn some information, have some new experiences that can take your life experience to another level. And so for me, I knew that everything I knew to date about health, wellness, energy, relationships, life, booze, alcohol, food, everything had got me to this certain result that I was nearly dead. And I was living a life during the week that was completely, sabotaging my health. And so I went, all right, first of all, I need to learn new information. I need to get new data and new experiences. And so I started scouring the internet and looking for mentors. I was listening to a lot of YouTube podcasts like Les Brown, Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, all the big names. And I was getting really inspired. I was, what's his name? Eric Thomas, ET, like, thank God it's Monday. I was like hammering that into my ears. It's all I listened to for the first few years. I just like every day, I legit wouldn't listen to music anymore. I just always listen to podcasts or a YouTube clip or someone speaking like motivational. I was just grinding it into my head. And fortunately I met an incredible mentor, Keegan Smith, and he has the Real Movement Project, which is
He worked at the Roosters, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I know him, yeah.
Yeah, so he started a Real Movement Project. He left the Roosters after they won the premiership. He realized he didn't want to work with pro athletes, and he started a mentorship for coaches to learn about his success as a coach. And his success as a coach has been in a holistic view. So it's not just been getting an athlete powerful or more strong or faster. It's getting them, out of pain, off the meds, eating proper food, getting their gut health right, getting their mind right, getting the way what they consume, what they listen to, what they read, taking their life experience to a new level. And that from a strength coach really had some massive results in the rugby league world. And he decided to take it into the gym world and teach coaches how to get better results with their clients. And so I was really drawn to that frame of reference, that view. And so I just went all in. I was so broke. I was at uni. I was getting like $400 a week. Mate, yeah, it was like $430 a week or something. And his course was 10 grand for the year. And so like $120 a week coming out of my account after rent, after food. Like I was scraping the barrel hardcore, but I knew he had the results that I wanted. And so I just dove straight into that, did the year mentorship with him to start with, and completely evolved my life. Went to a few live events, like 3-day events with him and the other boys in the program, and just the conversations, the information, the integration, all of these epic experiences that I was having that I'd never had before. How to breathe properly, how to train, more holistically, how to do a handstand and juggling and like work on my mind. I was like, all this stuff was just like blowing me out of the water, and having this experience was like, fuck, now I actually feel like there's potential within me to live an awesome life. And that was epic. So I think it comes down to changing results. You need new data, new information, and new experiences. Otherwise, you're just going to get the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Comes down to changing your environment. And you went down to Melbourne, and did you do mentorship under Christian Woodford?
Yes, I did. I actually did do a 6-month mentorship with Christian. Now, 100%, he is the man that first introduced me to law of attraction. And what we constantly think about will then vibrate in our energy and then draw towards us like a magnet. And so he was always telling me, whatever you want in life, you have to think about it every morning, every night before bed, and then every moment in between. Think about it. Cultivate that energy, that belief into it mentally before it happens physically. And he was just at me for the 6 months, just like at me. Law of attraction, this, law of attraction, law of attraction, law of attraction. Yeah, it's so full on. And yeah, he pumped a massive firecracker up my ass and lit it. And I left that place so keen to have my own influence in the fitness industry.
He's a fucking passionate guy, eh? Because I was studying sports and exercise science, and I came across him, and I was like, fuck, I love this guy. And he came to Sydney one time and did like a seminar or something. So I went to that and met him, and bro, his energy is fucking next level.
Where was the workshop?
Oh, I forget the name of the gym. It was in Windsor. Nah, I totally forget it. But the
Was it?
guy who runs it is an ex like rugby league player, and
Okay.
works with a lot of athletes and that.
Yeah. Now, Christian Woodford is definitely a passionate man. That's one way of describing him. And he has nothing but passion for the industry, and he really wants to see a big change. So, again, change your environment, get into an environment that's going to teach you, show you, give you new experiences. And it just, man, it lights you up. It fully lights you up being around people like that.
Exactly. And I loved what he did with sand oil. I remember watching those videos every week, like the transformation. That was awesome.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
after that stint there, you moved back to Sunny Coast, and is that when you started Exalto?
Yeah. So leaving Christian, I had this vision that I wanted to work with junior athletes. I wanted to give kids. So when I grew up playing footy, I had 6 massive injuries, and including surgery, lots of rehab, lots of physio, all this stuff. And the emotional battle that came with that was really full on. And so a big part of my passion was like, I want to take sports science, athletic development, like the art and the art of coaching, but then also the integration of the science to junior athletes, so that when they come up against injuries, that they know how to navigate it better, how to use their mind to recover. One of the probably the biggest contribution to re-injuring yourself is not the body, it's actually the mind. And so when you get yourself to a level where you're physically fit, is the mind going to then go back into competition and doubt itself? Because that's ultimately where you're going to manifest another injury. And so I had this passion leaving Christian, right? I'm going to come back and I'm going to start Exalto for junior athletes. And I got ripped into that. I got, 100 clients under my belt in the first 12 months, and really enjoyed that process, that passion. And then as I started, and I was continuing the mentorship with Keegan as well, and as I grew along that path, I realized that my passion didn't lie so much in athletes, more so just in general health, in living a healthy life. And if you want to apply that to sport, good on you. Like, that's going to help you as well. So my passion did change, and I'm a manifesting generator. If anyone knows human design, basically that means I'm multi-passionate, and at any point my passion can change and I'll have full energy for something else. And so, as along that journey, it went from junior athletes, then it went to basically health, and now it's kids and adults. It's like any age basically can learn how to get healthy in a holistic sense.
That's awesome, dude. Where are you looking to take it?
Where am I looking to take Exalto? There's so many avenues considering with where we're at. And I think the largest part of inspiration for me is creating new awareness. And so for anyone that steps foot in Exalto, or whether they start online programs, in the future, it's about creating more awareness. And so if we create more awareness around our minds and how they function and how we can have an optimal relationship with our mind, then also with the body, learning, becoming more aware of what's happening in our bodies in terms of pain, tension, injuries, niggles, capacity, potential, skills, like what can we learn with the body, creating more awareness. And then also when it comes to like the habitual sense of what happens outside of your training and how that influences your daily, your monthly, your yearly results and your life results. So when it comes to the vision for Exalto, I'm passionate at the moment about creating more tangible results. Just the results that people can truly measure and manage in a point where they go, okay, now I know. So it's not just a gym where, you go and train. Most people will have a gym membership and they'll just train for years on end and just turn up to class, and they might feel the endorphins. They might get a bit stronger. It's like, how can we monitor and look back at the journey that you've had with the gym and go like, whoa, I've achieved all of this stuff in 1, 2, 3 years. That's epic. And so making a tangible model, including like testing your bloods, testing your mobility, testing your performance, testing all of this stuff, so you can actually have this idea of where your journey has led and the results you've achieved. So yeah, it's interesting at the moment how to create a system that's got a lot of feedback mechanisms in it. And so that's what I'm most focused on at the moment. And who knows where that can go. I definitely know I don't want a franchise. I want to keep it local, and I want to keep it, nailed to the Sunshine Coast. So just with other projects and whatever, and understanding how much goes into running a gym, I definitely don't want to franchise and take it anywhere else. I get a lot of questions like, when is it coming to Melbourne? When's it coming to Sydney? And yeah, so for now it's a local homegrown brand, and it will stay here on the coast until if there's any changes in the future. So
That is exciting, man. And hopefully I can get up to Sunny Coast soon. And like, I'd love to check out the gym. And there's so many amazing people up at Sunny Coast.
oh man, we got an awesome community here. I know Travi was on the potty not too long ago. There's a huge focus of health, wellness, even, the breath work, all that, the mental health aspect of like how to actually optimize your mind. It's just an awesome community.
Yeah.
So very grateful for the people on the coast.
Did you go to Travis's Ripple Effect event?
No, I didn't. So my priority at the moment is my son.
Yeah. Fair enough, bro.
Yeah. I got a lot of people asking me whether I was going to go down to the event, and man, my event right now is every single day, every single second with my son. Every time any time I can get with my child is awesome.
That's it, bro. Especially before they grow up and they're like, see you later, dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, dude, I guess this last part of the podcast, I kind of want to dive into maybe some tips and tools that you can give the audience into living a healthy and happier life, if you kind of want to touch on that.
Yeah, cool. Where would you want to start? So, I mean, my question for you is, what are some of the common issues that you hear about when people say they're living unhealthily or they're having challenges?
Well, obviously exercise is a big one, but I think when it comes to like mental health, so I like to say like breath work, ice baths, or cold showers, meditation, like I'm into all that kind of stuff, and I believe that helps a lot of people. So maybe what's your take on health, and what do you implement in your life?
Yeah, so I think it's so multifactorial, and there's so many different things that work and don't work for certain people, and it really is about exploration for people, and be willing to fail, be willing to learn some lessons. Don't give up when something doesn't work. Be willing to try something else, and just explore the field. There's so many things out there, man. There's like yoga, stretching, walking, running, lifting, Olympic lifting, CrossFit, F45. There's so much stuff out there, right? And I think people do feel a little bit overwhelmed sometimes, like, oh man, where do I start? The biggest thing is just start. If you're in a point where you know you want to start, the current results in your life are unsatisfactory, all right, start somewhere. Try it for a little bit. If it feels good, if it feels like you're enjoying it, stick with it. What I do encourage people to do is not do the things they don't love. You know, if you're going to the gym because you hate yourself and you just want to go to the gym because you think that's going to fix it, don't use the gym. You know, start a sport, or find fitness through another avenue. Do things you love, because at the end of the day, if you're doing it from the wrong energy, if you're doing it out of resent, or you're doing it out of a lack of, or have to, eventually you're going to start hitting roadblocks. You're going to start sabotaging. Just do things you love that are active. If you love walking in the bush, start walking in the bush more. If you love running and you want to do a marathon, do that. Like set the goal and do it. If you love being in the gym and you want to lift weights, go and do that. If you find that you are drawn to yoga more, get stuck into yoga. Just do things you love, because that will have such a great effect on not only your body but also your mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, do what you love and do what works for you as well. Like, especially when it comes to diet and stuff like that. Like, people try all these different diets. Like, just find what works for you, not what works for you. Like, maybe you do carnivore and stuff like that. Might not work for me or might not work for someone else. So just find what works.
Yeah, 100%. And my only tip with nutrition is get the results, and not the results where you think you're getting results. Go and get your bloods tested, because they don't lie. The best way to understand whether something is actually making you healthy is go and get your bloods done and see a nutritionist, or someone who can read your bloods where you're deficient, and then top up your deficiencies. However you get that done, supplements, food, avoid processed man-made stuff. If you can use the real stuff, or you can use quality organic supplements, that's going to make a huge effect in your health. But I do have that one point that I want to address when it comes to diet, because a lot of people, I'll so easily say do what you love, but sometimes they're doing things that are really detrimental to their long-term health. And people get really caught up on the esoteric part of nutrition, of I feel incredible, but they actually might not. They're kind of like made a lie to themselves. And so the main thing I always say to people is just go and get your bloods done, and then you know where you're at. Because they're not going to lie to you. They'll say, okay, I'm deficient in iron, whatever it is, copper, zinc. Okay, magnesium. Oh, now I know what I need to fill my cup up with.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never thought about that. I kind of just do like an 80-20 rule, like 80% whole foods, 20% soul food kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's cool. I love that soul food stuff. So I reckon, yeah, I mean, if you're ever interested, go and get your bloods done. It is really interesting to look at your bloods and have them analyzed, and actually get a scope of your live blood work, because we are basically the quality of our blood. It's what heals us. It's what gives us energy. It's what helps our tissues grow. It's what keeps our immune system right. Everything comes back to the quality of our blood. And a lot of people think they're healthy, but when it comes to the actual data, they don't actually know what's going on the inside. And then we talk about gut issues, skin, sleep, digestion, happiness, depression, anxiety, all that stuff. It comes back to the fuel in your body. So yeah, that's a huge tip. I feel that isn't focused on enough, because people say, oh, nutrition, just do what works. Yeah, do what works for you to a degree, but also know what's going on.
Yeah. Do you know much about, obviously you probably do, about the gut mind connection? Like, do you want to kind of touch on that a bit? Because I find that really interesting.
Yeah, so it's a huge part of like Eastern medicine, and the integration of Chinese medicine, and understanding how it's definitely crept its way into our world. That's how we know about it now. It's like the Western world is waking up. There's starting to be a lot of research, a lot of studies, and finally we're getting MDs, doctors speaking about the gut brain connection, because for so long people just think like, get your macros right, just fit the bill and you'll be sweet. Just keep in between these parameters and then but they're now proving that what we eat releases off, endorphins or neurochemistry, neurotransmitters, which feed then to our brain, which then have a certain effect on how we think, feel, move, act, behave. And so what if the things that you're eating actually affect your brain? What if the things you're eating actually affect your mood? What if the things you're eating actually affect your systemic health? Okay, so now we should start thinking about the things we eat from a different point of view. How is our gut health, the thing that processes all of those, every molecule that goes into our mouth and down through our gut, how is that affecting our minds and our brains? And that's a huge rabbit hole for people to go into. That's like a whole nother podcast and involves so much neurochemistry that you can really dive deep into. I would recommend listening to people like, what's his name? Andrew Huberman is very, very incredible from the scientific point of view. And then there's also some incredible people in the health space that talk specifically about the gut brain connection.
Yeah, it seems very interesting. Like from what I've kind of read, it's like the gut's like your second mind, which is why people say go with your gut.
Yeah. Yeah, like our intuition's so strong, right? When we intuitively feel something and we don't listen to it, usually we learn a lesson because of that. Whereas when we listen to it, usually it ends up pretty good,
Mm,
pretty great. I've not done much stuff that my guts told me and followed it that's ended up in a bad position.
yeah. Now, I heard this when you were jumping on Travis's podcast. You were talking about instead of saying mindset, you say mind flex. What is all that about?
Well, did you hear it?
Yeah, so because mindset, like you're set in your own mind, whereas flex, you're more flexible to, adapt and change.
Yeah, so it's language, right? Language is so important. Our words have a vibrance or a frequency that's released. If I trash talk you, it creates some level of feeling, a vibrant, the frequency in your body. If I boost you up and lift you up, there's going to be a different frequency in your body. And it's the same with our self-talk and the language we use in our own lives. And so when people say, I have such a strong mindset or I've got such a positive mindset, if we describe or define set and add it to mind. So what is something when it's set? It's rigid, it's stiff, it's strong. And yes, that can play that can have a massive benefit in certain aspects of our life to be strong, rigid, set. But when it comes to having an open mind or having the ability to see things through different perspectives or maybe accept others when they have different views, I find a lot of people with strong positive mindsets are also very dogmatic. And sometimes they can be, this is right, like it's right, wrong. And, you should do this, you have to do this, even with health. People who really have a healthy mindset, you have to be healthy. It's like, no, you don't. It's all a choice, right? Like you don't have to do anything. It's choice. And so with Mind Flex, what we're cueing to the mind and what we're explaining through definition is flexibility gives us the capacity to bend, move, shift, view from another perspective, not be so set in our ways, but actually be flexible. And if we have more mental flexibility or more mind flex, maybe that will open up more opportunities than being rigid in our mindset. And so it's just an interesting concept. One of my mentors presented it to me or to our group in a call. And what was interesting was when I first heard it, I went, "Oh, no, that's wrong." And that was where my mind flex, was right there in front of me. By hearing something that was different, I kind of went, "Oh, mind flex." And so, I've since embodied it of like, yeah, have a flexible mind.
Yeah, because we're so ingrained to just say mindset. When you started implementing it and maybe saying it around people, what were their reactions?
So good, man. So funny. And it's just interesting to watch people's reaction because I then see the way I reacted to it the first time. Like I was very resistant to it. The first thing that came up was that's wrong. It's mindset, you know, And I had to do that own reflection on me. And so I present that to people, or not even present it, just speak about mind flex. And you just see people in their mind, they go, they're not even listening to me anymore. They're starting to think, did he just say mind flex? Pretty sure it's mindset. I've always heard about mindset. It's got to be mindset. I'm not going to use mind flex. That's wrong. You can see these internal cogs going on, and they're like so focused on the fact that what they thought is mindset, it shouldn't be called anything else. So it's super interesting. Language is really cool to look into, listen, observe. Yeah, it's got so much power embedded in it.
Yeah, it sure does. And that's why when I heard, I was like, fuck, I need to get this. I need to get Jordan to talk about this on the potty because it's so interesting. And just a little tweak in a word can really open your mind.
Oh, man, absolutely. So much so that by changing the sentences that we speak, like some people are in a life sentence or a prison sentence just because of the words they use in their own head. The sentences they use are setting them up for failure or a lot of grief or, a negative outcome. Oh, I can't do that. I can never do that. I'm not that kind of person. Oh, my life, all this negative dialogue that goes on in our heads. You change the words, you start having a different frequency in your body, more belief, and it's just going to change the outcome.
Yeah, it's just like when someone says, "Yeah, I can't do that." I'm like, "Yeah, exactly. You're not going to do it with that mindset, or mind flex, I should say." Because yeah,
Well,
if you say it, if you say I can't, well, then your mind believes it, and then you're not going to do it.
Mm. Yeah, I love that one when they say I can't. I just go, yeah, you probably can't.
Yep, it's like, yep, you're telling the truth. Just until you change what you say, until you change it to I can or I'll learn to do it, come back to me.
Yeah, or how can I?
Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, it shuts your mind off when you say I can't. As soon as you say you can't, you close your mind, you're not open to thinking of how can I. Straight away you just shut off.
Mm. Yeah, it's a closed loop,
Mm,
and closed loops are very definitive. Whereas if we use open loops, we inspire openness, flexibility, contemplation, all of these beautiful things that our mind can actually do as a natural resource for our, the computer that we've got in our head. And so if we cultivate that more with opportunities to think differently or to think bigger or to think laterally or from a different perspective or embody someone else's or even consider someone else's view that's completely different to ours and try and see it through that lens, what would that do? What would that do for our world and for our acceptance of each other and starting to listening to understand versus listening to respond? If you actually started to open yourself up to more opportunities, what is possible?
mm.
Where's the limit?
Anything is possible if you open your mind.
Yeah, it's super cool. And I think I always reflect, like I love podcasts. I love listening to people, the content and everything. And one of my main things that comes back up into my mind is how, if I was to hear this back when I was really destructive, what ultimately would shift the needle for me? Because when you're in an open place, when you're searching for this information, you're seeking growth, and you're open to it, it lands much easier because you resonate and you go, yeah, all right, I'm going to apply that. But if we think about how can people who are in a pattern that's suboptimal for what they truly want, if they're caught in patterns, what can wake them up? And it's really about that awareness piece of if you're unsatisfied with things, if you're constantly finding yourself anxious or depressed or sad or frustrated or angry, all these emotions that vibrate quite low and cause negative outcomes in our energy, start becoming more aware of the people around you who get different results. And it might be that one person or that one person who's always upbeat and has a positive energy, and you're kind of like, oh, you resent them at the start, person's always so positive. And start asking questions, start reaching out. As soon as you start reaching out for help, your life will just like go on this full evolution of new growth. And so I always think about how can we as a stimulus for change also help people who are closed off to it.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you never know until you ask. Like if you're in a position of you need to make change, as you said, find someone who's, I guess, in a position that you want to be in and start modeling your life off them. Don't become them, but see what they do in their life and then trying to implement that into yours.
Hmm.
Dude, as we start to wrap up, man, last few questions. What does having a better life mean to you?
What does having a better life mean to me? I'm actually challenged by that question a bit because I think that the pure notion of looking for better or having to be better is a lack of self acceptance or gratitude for where you're actually at. And I can say this now, having had the success I've had and doing the work I've done. But if I was to, and this is one thing that I want to pass on to my son, and I tell him every day is, I love you so much, and I hope or I trust that you love yourself just as much. Because as a parent, I'm gonna have unconditional love for him. I'm gonna just love him as my son, and I can feel it for him. I can feel the love for him, and I trust that having him in our lives, we can show him and help him love himself. And so, if I'm to link it back to the question, what does having a better life mean? It's not ultimately having a better life, but it's having more appreciation of what you're actually a part of, life itself, and loving yourself for everything and everything that you're not, for all the unique parts and the beauty that lies in being human and having differences and being able to experience what we're in right now. If you're listening to this podcast, just realize what you're a part of, the human experience. There's such a small percent chance that you actually get a life in this lifetime, that you actually, the sperm meets the egg and you actually are born. There's such a small percentage. And the fact that you get an opportunity like that and you have the opportunity to hear someone speaking about the experience and having that reflection is so incredible. So just realizing what you're a part of and loving yourself for it.
I love that, bro. That's probably the best answer I've received from that question. So in depth and so different as well to what everyone else says. So I love it.
Thanks, man. I that lands, and I appreciate your feedback. And I do hope that people start realizing just how incredible this actually is. And I think about all of the challenges or the negative things that I've gone through and how much I resented it at the time, but how in hindsight, I'm so fucking grateful for every single challenge that's happened to me in the past because it's made me who I am.
Mm.
And so and I know that even things in the past 12 months, the past 2 years, after doing this, having this success, the challenging things that's come up, being able to lean into them with gratitude and learn from them is a different energy. And I do hope that people can have that level of appreciation at some point in their life, because that will change your energy that you're putting out and also that you're attracting back. So yeah, I appreciate the feedback, man. And thanks for asking an awesome question.
Thanks, bro. And I'm interested in your answer for this next question. It might be similar, but how do you define success?
uh, are you asking me how I personally
Yeah, how
define
do you
success?
personally define success?
It's changed a lot, and it used to be achievement based. So my self-worth used to be based on what I achieve. And so my success was based around what other people thought of me how I looked to other people, my status within the community or my status of success, what I had, what I'd achieved, the impact I was having, all of this stuff. That's what I would measure as success. And my view on success has changed because I believe success is ultimately, to me, how we feel about ourselves. How many people have all the money, all the cars, massive entrepreneurs, all this stuff, the status, success, even the achievements? Like, listen to Mike Tyson and Joe Rogan's podcast, the champion of the world. The minute he had the belt on his shoulder, he got depressed. He thought, what now? Like, what's the point? I've done it. And listening to how interesting Mike Tyson's journey, I'm not sure if you're aware of his journey at the moment, but he's doing a lot of inner work and he's realizing that he achieved everything out of lack. He had to be something to be accepted by others. And so for me, in my frame of reference, success is now, how do I feel about myself each day when I wake up? What do I want? What do I value? And can I cultivate that in myself?
I love that, dude. Fuck, you're giving great responses. Bro, when your time's all up and done on this earth, what would you like to be remembered for?
Oh man, and definitely energy and a good time.
Well, you definitely, if you went tomorrow, that's what you'd be remembered for.
And to top that up, just a loving human being. I do. So my mantra at the moment, I'm not sure if you heard Travis' podcast with Darren Manta.
I'm about halfway through that. It's really good so far.
So his mantra, which I've also embodied myself, is love everyone and everything, including yourself.
Mm.
And so, that starts with the people that you don't think you can love.
Yeah, exactly. And if you just love everyone, the world would be a better place. Like there's this saying, if anger knocked on the door and love answered, well, anger's gone. But if anger answers to anger, well, then that just creates more anger.
Yeah. Yeah. It's incredible. It's so amazing. And I feel truly grateful to be in a place where I've done the work to have the realizations of how incredible love is. And as a male who used to be so shut off from love and reject love with every inch of my body because I'd been hurt and I'd been challenged in the past with women, my own mum, my sister, myself. I was so rejected from love, and to get to a point now where love is such a common theme in my life and such a strong energy, and I'm so open to it, and I want to love everyone. I want to give everyone a hug and have a great time and understand people and accept them for the challenges they're going through and be there for them and support them. But then also give all of that incredible stuff back to myself as well. It's a really powerful place to be in.
Yeah, man. Fuck. That is powerful. And this conversation has been powerful. I've really enjoyed it. And I know the listeners are going to get so much value out of it. So, dude, thank you.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate your energy and your authenticity as well, and the way you want to discover and explore. I think it's a really powerful tool when you're doing work like this, like podcasting or interviewing. Just being able to listen and find out more about people, and through that journey of understanding, you're ultimately going to understand your own journey more. So thanks for providing me the platform and asking incredible questions, and thanks for being you, bro. I appreciate you.
Grateful, man. That honestly, that means so much to me. And for the listeners, where's the best place to find you on social media?
So they can find me on social media at my name, Jordan Potts _ and then they can find the business, my gym, under Exalto _ Holistic Hub.
Awesome, brother. Now, as again, I've fucking enjoyed this chat, and hopefully, once all this stuff brushes over, I can get up to Sunny Coast because that crew that you've got up there it's crazy.
Yeah, it would be good, man. It would definitely be worth the wait, and I don't see it playing out too much longer. I think the world's going to connect back up sooner or later, and I think it will be sooner. So let's see how it plays out.
Exactly, dude. And for the listeners, if you got some value out of today, which I know you will, please share it around to your friends and family, and remember to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.